Thank you, Bryce. Welcome, everybody, to this wonderful Sunday morning here at Salt and Light Christian Church. The story that I have to tell you all this morning is about the hymn, Go Tell It on the Mountain. This hymn was published in 1907. However, its roots date much further back than that. This is one of my personal favorite Christmas hymns. And however, its roots date all the way back to the founding of our nation and potentially even before. This song originally was sang by slaves on the American plantations before we outlawed slavery in this country. And it was passed down orally through the generations. However, it was published in 1907 by a man named John Wesley Work, Jr. John was born in 1871 to a Christian family, and he grew up in Tennessee going to the same church as his family, and his dad was the choir master at the church. And so he grew up singing on his dad's choir and had a love for the old hymns kind of drilled into him as a child and a young man. However, that love for the hymns stayed with him throughout his whole life. As a young adult, he went to Fisk University to study history and Latin, and would eventually even get his master's from that university and go on to work there as a professor, teaching Latin and Greek. However, during his whole tenure at that university as a student and as a professor, he had a deep love for the Jubilee singers at that university, for they had preserved many of the old hymns and folk songs that were passed down orally through the generations. And however, many of these hymns at this point had been published. Go Tell It on the Mountain had not. And the first time he heard this hymn was when he attended that university. He heard the Jubilee singers perform it one Christmas. And the chorus, he loved the chorus of the hymn. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. That message resounded with him. And the melody as well really touched him. However, the verses that they had at the time, the original verses being lost to history as the song was passed down orally and they changed. However, the verses that they had at that time weren't really about Christmas. They kind of mashed with the message of the chorus. And so John rewrote 2 of the 3 verses that we now sing today. And he published his version of the hymn, which was the first time it was published in 1907. John would go on to publish many other hymns as well as folk music from that period of American history. However, this song continued to resonate with him and his family, whereas his 2 sons that followed in his footsteps, working at Fisk University as well, preserving the music that had been passed down through the generations. And so, not only can we see from the lyrics in this song the beautiful message of proclaiming our Savior's birth, however, we can see from John's life that he wanted to make sure that that message was known and that it was proclaimed from the highest mountaintop. And so I encourage you as we sing this song today to take the message that we sing out with you into your daily lives, and to proclaim Christ's birth and his saving resurrection to the world. So thank you. Let's bring the music.